Hi everyone, welcome back to Topic 4, Pemantapan Kesepaduan Nasional melalui Etika dan Peradaban. So before we dive into today's topic, right, let's try to understand what the title itself means, alright? Pemantapan means strengthening or reinforcing. Kesepaduan Nasional means national cohesion. In other words, it means unity among people. Okay, melalui etika dan peradaban. Etika, ethics, which means moral values or behaviors, right? Peradaban, which means civilization, which refers to culture, way of life, social development. So, pemantapan kesepaduan nasional melalui etika dan peradaban actually means strengthening national unity through ethics and civilization. It means building a stronger, more harmonious society by practicing very good values and morals, which is ethics, and respecting different cultures and ways of life, which is civilization. Right? So, a country becomes more united when its people behave ethically and respect each other's culture. Makes sense, right? Now, let us get into pengenalan, which is the introduction of this topic. Kepelbagaian menimbulkan pelbagai cabaran kepada sesebuah masyarakat seperti Malaysia. Setiap komuniti misalnya mempunyai akar etika dan peradaban yang berbeza dan terjelma dalam pemikiran dan praktis kehidupan masing-masing. Namun, kesemuanya perlu hidup dalam sebuah masyarakat Malaysia, berkongsi persamaan dan mencari titik pertemuan ketika terjadi perbezaan. Kesediaan tawar-menawar, berunding dan melakukan mediasi membawa keamanan, kestabilan dan keharmonian di Malaysia sejak merdeka. Sesungguhnya, kesepaduan nasional yang telah wujud didukung dan mesti terus-menerus dimantapkan. Okey. Kesediaan tawar-menawar, berunding dan melakukan mediasi dilaksanakan melalui 3 rangkai proses yang bergerak serentak dipacu oleh 3 motivasi, iaitu perpaduan yang diidamkan, iaitu matlamat ideal rakyat. Kedua, kesepaduan yang dicapai, keadaan harmoni yang wujud kini, right? Ketiga, penyepaduan yang diusahakan, usaha berterusan kerajaan dan masyarakat. It means diversity creates various challenges in a society like Malaysia because each community has its own ethical values and cultural background, which influence how they think and live their daily lives. We have Malays, Chinese, Indian, Sikh, and others, right? So all of us have our very own values, our very own cultural background that we come from. So it is very difficult, it's going to be very challenging for all of us, for each community to actually accept and adapt to it, right? It's going to be very challenging. However, despite these differences, all communities must live together as one society. This requires them to find common ground and shared values, especially when disagreements arise. The willingness to compromise, negotiate, and mediate has helped Malaysia maintain peace, stability, and harmony since independence. Right? National cohesion that exists today must be continuously supported and strengthened. This is achieved through 3 ongoing and interconnected processes. First, perpaduan, desired unity. Number 2, kesepaduan, achieved cohesion. Third, penyatupaduan, ongoing integration efforts. Now, perpaduan means the ideal goal that people hope to achieve, which is complete unity lah. Number 2, kesepaduan means the current situation where society lives in harmony despite differences, like now, right? The third one, penyatupaduan, which means ongoing integration efforts, which is the continuous efforts by the government and society to strengthen our unity. So, Malaysia stays peaceful not because everyone is the same, okay, but because people work together, they tolerate differences and keep improving unity over time. Let's move on to the next part. Malaysia mementingkan perpaduan nasional selepas peristiwa 13 Mei 1969, khususnya melalui penggubalan dan pelaksanaan DEB, Dasar Ekonomi Baru. Perpaduan merupakan satu proses menyatupadukan anggota masyarakat dan negara seluruhnya melalui ideologi negara supaya setiap anggota masyarakat dapat membentuk satu identiti dan nilai bersama serta perasaan kebangsaan bersama dalam kalangan mereka. Sebenarnya, apa-apa yang telah Malaysia semua nikmati selama ini belum lagi perpaduan tetapi kesepaduan sosial. Okay, so in this passage, right, they are mentioning three different points. First, importance of unity after the 13 May incident. Okay, after this riot, Malaysia realized that racial conflict could threaten national stability. So because of this, the government placed strong emphasis on national unity. So one major step was introducing the DEB, which aimed to reduce economic gaps between ethnic groups, eliminate poverty, kemiskinan, create more balanced opportunities, okay, in working sectors, okay, education. Now, the goal was to prevent conflict and strengthen unity among Malaysians. That is point number one. Point number two, they mentioned perpaduan, meaning of unity. Unity is described as a process of bringing all members of society together through shared national ideas and values, which means people develop a common identity. They share similar values and beliefs. They feel a strong sense of belonging to the nation. So, in simple terms, right, unity is when people truly feel like one nation, not divided by race or background. We are one. Okay? Third point that is mentioned here is the social cohesion, not full unity. Okay, what Malaysia has achieved so far is not a complete unity, but rather social cohesion, kesepaduan social. What this means, right? People live peacefully and harmoniously. Different ethnic groups coexist without major conflict, but the differences and the gaps still exist. So Malaysia is stable and harmonious, but has not yet reached perfect unity. Alright? Now here, what I'm showing you is tiga lapisan perpaduan. Perpaduan, kesepaduan, penyatu, paduan. Okay? So here, I'm going to explain perpaduan first. Perpaduan means unity. Okay, maksudnya matlamat akhir yang diidamkan. Our final goal, our main goal to be achieved. Okay? Masyarakat benar-benar bersatu tanpa jurang besar. Berkongsi identiti, nilai dan semangat kebangsaan yang sama. Okay, so maksudnya semua kaum bersatu sepenuhnya. That is perpaduan. Number two, kesepaduan means cohesion, meaning keadaan semasa yang telah dicapai, what we are or what we have achieved right now. Masyarakat hidup aman, stabil dan harmoni, masih wujud perbezaan dan jurang, tetapi tidak mencetuskan konflik besar. Okay? Point number three adalah penyatu paduan, integration process. Maksudnya, proses berterusan untuk mencapai perpaduan. So remember penyatu paduan as a process, an integration process. So usaha semua pihak termaksud kerajaan dan rakyat melibatkan tawar-menawar, rundingan, mediasi untuk mengurangkan jurang sosial dan perbezaan. So usaha berterusan untuk mendekatkan masyarakat. Okay? So how do we remember this? Remember penyatu paduan as the process. Kesepaduan is what we have now, keadaan sekarang. Perpaduan adalah matlamat akhir. Okay, so kita sedang melalui proses penyatu paduan, sudah mencapai tahap kesepaduan dan menuju ke arah perpaduan yang penuh. So remember that way, alright? Alright, so let's move on to the next part. Let's look at this diagram. Okay, this diagram here, it explains that in a diverse society like Malaysia, there are many internal contradictions. What is contradiction? Differences or tensions. So there are many internal differences that must be managed and resolved to maintain harmony. Okay, so these differences can be grouped into 9 main categories. Okay, but you have to remember something. These differences are not necessarily conflicts. They're just differences that can create tension if it is not handled properly. Okay, so let's look at this diagram here. There are nine main contradictions, there are nine main differences. Okay, firstly, ethnicity. It means differences in race and cultural background. Number two, agama, religion, different beliefs and different religious practices. Number three, class, social classes, which means a gap between the rich and the poor or different economic levels. Fourth, pendidikan, which is education, differences in access to and quality of education. Number five is bahasa, language. Use of different languages in daily life can also cause this. Okay. Next, generation, young versus old. Differences in values, thinking, and lifestyle between age groups. Number seven, gender, roles, expectations, and equality between males and female plays a role as well. Next, politic, federalism. Differences in political views or between state and federal powers, right? And lastly, space. Okay, space, urban versus rural, differences between city and rural lifestyle and development. Okay, so these nine areas, these nine contradictions represent key differences in the society. If these nine points, right, if it is not managed well, they can lead to misunderstanding, it can lead to conflicts. Therefore, efforts like discussion, tolerance, cooperations are important to reduce these differences and to strengthen social cohesion, unity. All right. So, what you can understand in short from here is that society has many differences, but by understanding and managing them, peace and harmony can be maintained. Right? We're going to be covering ethos national. Okay, I'm going to read this passage here. Ethos nasional sesuatu rakyat ialah falsafah yang diperoleh daripada kepercayaan dan tradisi bersama yang melaluinya negara melihat sejarah, masa kini dan masa depannya. Ethos nasional merupakan faktor penyatuan yang menentukan identiti negara dan mengikatnya menjadi satu kumpulan sosial yang bersatu padu. So what does this mean? Ethos national, right? It is the way people view their history, understand their present situation, and imagine the future of their country. Okay? It is formed from shared values, beliefs, historical experiences, and traditions. Okay? So, ethos national is important because it unites the people, it shapes the nation's identity, and promotes social unity. Just try to understand the definition of ethos national first, and then I'll give you some examples, alright? Okay, ethos nasional terdiri daripada tiga komponen asas berikut. Okay, perasaan menjadi mangsa bersama, perasaan kemenangan, keyakinan bahawa kumpulan itu bertindak mengikut keadilan sejagat. Sebenarnya, perasaan menjadi mangsa bersama memerlukan pengesahan sosial yang berterusan untuk berkembang maju. Apabila komuniti sosial berkembang, penganiayaan budaya berubah dengan keadaan politik. Memandangkan setiap negara perlu meraihkan kejayaan rakyatnya dalam politik, ekonomi, sains, sukan dan banyak lagi, kemenangan dan patriotisme dikaitkan secara langsung dengan kenangan kolektif sejarah. Akhirnya, keyakinan bahawa kumpulan itu bertindak mengikut keadilan sejagat menjuruskan kepercayaan yang mendalam terhadap matlamat kumpulan dan imej diri yang positif, bukan kepada kejahatan matlamat dan sifat lawan. Memberi tumpuan kepada ketidakadilan, jenayah, kecederaan dan kejahatan musuh menjadikan ahli masyarakat kelihatan berbudi. Okay, so let's see what this means, right? So, ethos nasional has three different components. The first one is perasaan menjadi mangsa bersama, which means a shared sense of victimhood. Okay, it means people share past experiences of hardship like penjajahan, colonization, which creates a feeling of togetherness and solidarity among them. Okay, point number two, perasaan kemenangan, which means a sense of shared victory. Achievements gained together, such as independence or success in various fields, become a source of national pride and patriotism. Okay? Point number three, keyakinan bahawa kumpulan itu bertindak mengikut keadilan sejagat, which means believe in universal justice. People believe that their actions and struggles are fair, moral, and guided by good intention. Okay, so now we are going to see a deeper meaning of ethos national, or in other words, we're going to see an example that is happening in Malaysia itself. Okay, something that is related in Malaysia. Okay, so earlier I gave you some examples, right? I told you shared historical experience during colonization. So Malaysia went through periods of colonization, penjajahan by the British and Japan, right? So these experiences created a shared sense of suffering, which helped unite people of different races in the struggle for independence in 1957. So you can imagine, right, when they're going through this pain, this hardship, this very terrible suffering, right? So you don't have time to actually differentiate. You wouldn't think that, I am from community A, you are from community B. They are all suffering together. Hence, this incident helped to unite people of different races. Point number two that I told you was national victories and pride. Okay, so independence and the formation of Malaysia in 1963, right, are symbols of shared success. Okay, addition to that, achievements in areas such as sports. For example, we have badminton by Lee Chong Wei, right? Economic development, educational progress, all this contributes to a strong sense of patriotism and national pride. All right? Point number three, unity in diversity. So, Malaysia is known for its multi ethnic society. We have Malays, Chinese, Indians, and other ethnic groups. So, national ethos national, emphasizes on the concept of unity and diversity. It values of tolerance and mutual respect between different religion and culture. So, what does this reflect? It reflects the belief that the country is built on justice and universal harmony. Okay. Next point, national principle as the foundation. So you have to know that Malaysia's ethos national is also supported by principles such as the Rukun Negara, right? Which emphasizes on what? So try to recall back our Negara, the 5 points. Okay, we gotta believe in God, loyalty to the king and the country, supremacy to the constitution, sorry, rule of law, courtesy and morality, right? This principle, right, helps shape the shared values of the Malaysian people. Okay, now, so this is what this entire passage is referring to, ethos national. Persoalannya, bagaimanakah ethos nasional dapat dikaitkan dalam konteks Malaysia? Okay, so I'm going to read this part here first before I explain. Dalam konteks Malaysia, menurut Mansur Muhammad Nur dan Khairul Gufran Kaspin, mantan Perdana Menteri Malaysia Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad mengemukakan 7 dimensi ethos nasional. First one, pengalaman sejarah bersama, nilai bersama, perasaan identiti bersama, takdir bersama yang melampaui batas etnik tanpa merosakkan identiti etnik, kesetiaan, komitmen, keterikatan emosional terhadap bangsa dan pengukuhan etos kebangsaan yang jelas. Hakikatnya, ethos nasional merupakan salah satu komponen yang paling penting dalam keupayaan rakyat untuk mewujudkan komuniti yang bersatu padu. Kepentingan ethos nasional bukan sahaja dapat menjana perpaduan yang kukuh, tetapi juga memperkukuhkan identiti nasional. Pada masa yang sama, identiti nasional boleh menjadi faktor yang menyatukan anggota masyarakat cukup kuat untuk mengikat seorang individu dengan yang lain dan mengikat seseorang individu kepada negara. Okay, so what does this passage means? So, in the Malaysian context, right, according to these three people here, Mansur Muhammad Noor, Khairul Gufran Kaspin, and our former Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, okay, these three people, they have proposed 7 dimensions of the ethos national. So first point being shared historical experience. Yeah, Malaysians are united by common historical events such as the penjajahan and the struggle for independence, right? Point two says nilai bersama, which means shared values, common beliefs like respect, tolerance, cooperation help create harmony among different groups. Okay? Third point being perasaan identiti bersama. Okay, a shared sense of identity. Despite differences in ethnicity or culture, people see themselves as part of one nation, which is Malaysian. Okay? Fourth point, takdir bersama yang melampaui batas etnik tanpa merosakkan identiti etnik, which means a shared destiny beyond ethnic boundaries. What it means, citizens feel they share the same future while still preserving their own ethnic identities. Okay? Point number 5. Kesetiaan, which means loyalty, a sense of loyalty to the country, its leader, and national institutions. Okay. Point number 6, commitment. Okay. The willingness of citizens to contribute to the nation's development and well being. Okay. The last point, keterikatan emosional terhadap bangsa dan pengukuhan etos kebangsaan yang jelas. This point means emotional attachment to the nation. So, strong feelings of love, pride, and belonging toward the country, which will strengthen the national unity. Okay, so what does this overall passage mean? Okay, it means that in reality, right, ethos national is one of the most important element in society's ability to build the unity. Okay, which is community yang bersatu padulah. Okay, it not only helps create strong social cohesion, okay, unity, but also strengthens our national identity. Understand this point, huh? So it will menjana perpaduan yang kukuh and also memperkukuhkan identity national. Okay, this identity becomes a powerful force that connects individuals to one another and binds them to their country. That is why ethos national is important. Understand, huh? So with that, we have concluded our topic for ethos national. Let's continue with etnik, tahap keetnikan, batas etnik, hubungan sosial rentas etnik. Now, as always, before we dive into the topic itself, let's try to understand the title. Now, tahap keetnikan means level of ethnicity, batas etnik, ethnic boundaries, hubungan sosial rentas etnik, which means cross ethnic relations. Now, let's try to understand this on a deeper level. Alright, tahap keetnikan, which means level of ethnicity, right? It means how strongly ethnic identity influences a person's life. Number two, ethnic boundaries. Okay, ethnic boundaries, which means batas ethnic, the social lines that separate different ethnic groups. Thirdly, hubungan social rentas ethnic, which means cross ethnic relations. It means that interactions between people from different ethnic groups. So I hope by now you have a general understanding of the title itself. Yeah? With that, we will dive into this passage now. Transformasi hubungan etnik di Malaysia bermula pada zaman Kesultanan Melayu Melaka. Pada zaman ini, etnik seperti Melayu, Jawa, Minangkabau, Banjar, Bajau, Kadazan Dusun, Murut, Iban, Bidayu, Melanau, Bugis dan kelompok etnik tempatan yang lain didapati tidak memiliki batas etnik yang tertutup. Batas kumpulan etnik mereka berubah-ubah kerana wujud hubungan silang kumpulan sehingga terbina integrasi budaya dan sosial antara etnik. Now, this means the transformation of ethnic relations in Malaysia began during the Kesultanan Melayu Melaka period. At that time, right, ethnic groups such as the Malays, Javanese, Minangkabau, Banjar, Bajau, Kadazan Dusun, Murut, Iban, Bidayo, Melanau, Bugis, and the other local groups did not have strict or close ethnic boundaries. Take note of that. Okay, so these boundaries were flexible and they were constantly changing because there were many interactions between different groups. So, what happened because of this? Cultural and social integration developed among them. Terbina integrasi budaya dan sosial antara etnik. So take note of these 2 points. Moving on to the next part. Gambaran yang sama berlaku dalam masyarakat Arab, Cina, Portugis dan India yang berhijrah ke alam ini. Akibatnya, kumpulan imigran ini juga melalui proses integrasi budaya dan sosial dengan masyarakat setempat sehingga melahirkan sub-kelompok seperti peranakan, baba nyonya dan ceti dalam kalangan mereka. So this passage here says that a similar situation occurred among immigrant communities such as the Arabs, Chinese, Portuguese and Indians who came to the Malay world. So these groups also interacted and integrated with local people. Can you imagine? They're traveling from one part of the world to another part of the world, which is to Malaysia, right? And what happens? Of course, there will be some talking, getting to know one another, right? So because of that, there was interaction, right? So these groups also interacted and integrated with the local people. So now these people from Arab, China, Portuguese, and India, they come over here. So they start mingling around. They start to get to know one another, and they get to integrate with our culture, our local people's practices and beliefs. Right? So this led to the formation of mixed communities such as Peranakan, Baba Nyonya, and the Chetty. Moving to the next one. Alam Melayu sebelum kedatangan penjajah barat berjaya membina masyarakat pelbagai budaya menerusi ikatan antara kumpulan sehingga mewujudkan hubungan silang budaya berteraskan konsep keetnisitian telap dan keetnisitian payung. Model pengurusan masyarakat silang budaya yang sudah sedia terbina di alam Melayu sebelum kedatangan penjajah barat sangat berbeza dengan kefahaman konsep ras dari barat. Kefahaman konsep ras yang dibawa oleh penjajah Inggeris bersifat tertutup dengan sikap etnosentrisme telah menanamkan bibit perpecahan dalam kalangan rakyat pelbagai budaya di negara ini. Pada ketika ini, sehinggalah kedatangan penjajah Inggeris, hubungan etnik bersifat payung. Hal ini bermakna walaupun mereka berlainan etnik tetapi berteduh di bawah payung etnik Melayu dari segi bahasa, budaya dan agama. Now, this here means, right, before the arrival of Western colonizers, okay, penjajah Barat, the Malay world successfully created a multicultural society through strong connections between different groups. This system was based on two important concepts, okay, which is konsep keetnisitian telap dan keetnisitian payung. In English, it means permeable ethnicity and umbrella ethnicity. The first one means ethnic boundaries were open and allowed mixing. Okay, that is the definition of keetnisitian telap. Now, keetnisitian payung, okay, which means umbrella ethnicity, it means different ethnic groups shared a common cultural foundation. Okay, however, this system was very different from the Western concept of race, introduced later by the British. Western racial ideas were rigid and they were closed. They were based on ethnocentrism. What is ethnocentrism? It means that the belief that one's own group is superior. Remember the meaning of this word, yeah? So these ideas planted the seeds of division among the diverse communities in Malaysia. How sad, huh? So, before British colonization, ethnic relations followed the idea of the umbrella ethnicity, okay, which means that even though people were from different ethnic groups, they were united under a shared Malay cultural framework, which is Payung Ethnic Melayu, especially in terms of language, culture, and religion. Can I? So I will give you a simple summary here. So during the early Malaysia stage, open, flexible, and integrated ethnic relations were happening. Okay, immigrants mixed with the locals and created hybrid communities. So what are the hybrid communities that we learned earlier? Try to write those points down. Okay, then society was united under a shared cultural system. So later on, British introduced rigid racial division leading to separation. This is what this entire passage means. Okay, so before we get into the next passage or the next paragraph, we take down notes of what we just learned earlier. Alright? The notes are in English and a bit on Malay. So if you want, please pause the video, try to write it down in Bahasa Melayu, and then continue the video. Alright? Alright, guys. So thank you so much for watching. I'll be stopping topic 4 here for now, and I'll continue the rest in the next video. Okay? I also know that this might feel a bit overwhelming because there's a lot to take in this topic as well. So just feel free to pause, take your notes, make sure you understand everything before moving on. Okay?